"Your daughter is a quitter," my mother announced to the entire table at Thanksgiving dinner, her wine glass raised like a prosecuting attorney presenting evidence. Sarah dropped out of medical school to play doctor at some free clinic in the slums. I watched 43 relatives freeze mid-chew, their eyes darting between my mother's triumphant sneer and my carefully neutral expression. And in that moment, I made a decision that would change everything. I would let her keep believing her own lie for exactly as long as it took for the truth to destroy her. The question wasn't whether she'd eventually learn what I'd really been doing for the past 3 years, it was whether her heart could survive the shock when she found out. My name is Dr. Sarah Mitchell. I'm 31 years old and I'm the Chief Medical Officer and majority shareholder of Mercy General Hospital in Portland, Oregon, a 400-bed Level 1 trauma center that serves 180,000 patients annually. But to my mother, Linda Mitchell, I'm the daughter who threw away her future when I left Johns Hopkins Medical School in my 3rd year. What she doesn't know, what she's never bothered to ask, is why I left. The story she tells at every family gathering, every book club meeting, every chance she gets, is that I couldn't handle the pressure and quit to work at some poverty clinic because I didn't have what it takes to be a real doctor. She's been telling this version for 3 years, each retelling adding new embellishments about my weakness, my lack of ambition, my fundamental inadequacy. The true story is different. I left Johns Hopkins in my 3rd year because my mentor, Dr. Patricia Okonkwo, was leaving to become CEO of a struggling hospital in Portland that was 6 months from closure. She asked me to come with her not as a student but as her partner. She'd secured $50 million in venture capital funding to transform Mercy General from a failing community hospital into a cutting-edge medical center focused on serving underserved populations while maintaining financial sustainability through innovative revenue models. I was 28 years old. She was offering me the chance to build something from the ground up, to be part of real systemic change instead of just treating symptoms. And she was offering me equity 20% ownership if I invested my trust fund from my late grandmother. I said yes within an hour. My grandmother, Frances Mitchell, had left me $3.2 million when she died my freshman year of college. The money had been sitting in investments, growing steadily. I liquidated everything and invested $2.8 million into Mercy General's restructuring, keeping $400,000 as an emergency fund. I called my mother to tell her about this incredible opportunity. I was so excited I could barely get the words out. Her response: "You're throwing away Johns Hopkins for some charity project? Sarah, this is exactly why your father and I worried about you. You don't think things through. You're impulsive. You're going to regret this." I tried to explain the ownership stake, the potential, Dr. Okonkwo's vision, the innovative model we were building. She cut me off. "I don't want to hear excuses. You're dropping out of medical school. That's all anyone will hear. That's all that matters. I'm not dropping out. I'm deferring, and I'll finish my degree through OHSU's program while working." "Sarah, stop. Just stop. You've made your choice. Don't expect me to pretend to be proud when you're making such an obvious mistake. That was 3 years ago." I haven't spoken to her about my work since. When she tells people I dropped out, I don't correct her. When she says I work at a free clinic in the slums, technically she's not wrong. Mercy General is in a low-income area, and we do operate several free clinics. I just let her believe whatever version makes her feel superior. Because here's what actually happened in those 3 years. We transformed Mercy General completely. We brought in top specialists by offering equity and purpose. We pioneered a hybrid model charging insurance companies and wealthy patients full rates while providing sliding scale and free care to those who couldn't pay. We opened 6 satellite clinics in underserved neighborhoods. We reduced wait times by 70%. We became the preferred hospital for complex cases because our outcomes were better than the prestigious university hospital across town. I finished my MD through Oregon Health and Science University's accelerated program, then completed a fellowship in emergency medicine. At 31, I became the youngest chief medical officer of a major hospital in the Pacific Northwest. And when Dr. Okonkwo retired last year, I bought her out. I now own 67% of Mercy General. The hospital is valued at $340 million. My mother thinks I'm a failure making $40,000 a year at a free clinic. The Thanksgiving dinner where she made her announcement was at my cousin Jessica's house. Jessica had just gotten promoted to senior accountant at a mid-size firm, and the family was celebrating. It was the kind of gathering my mother loved, a chance to compare children, to rank achievements, to establish hierarchy. Jessica's doing so well, Mom said loudly, ensuring everyone could hear. Unlike some people, she finished what she started. She has ambition. She understands success. I was helping in the kitchen, arranging vegetables on a platter, when my Aunt Marie came in looking uncomfortable. Sarah, honey, you don't have to stay if your mother is going to be like this. It's fine, Aunt Marie. It's not fine, the way she talks about you. Doesn't she know what you actually do? She knows what she wants to know. Marie looked like she wanted to say more, but my uncle called her back to the dining room. I finished with the vegetables and brought them out to find Mom holding court. The problem with Sarah, she was saying, is that she's never had realistic expectations. Medical school was always too ambitious for her. She should have become a nurse or maybe a physician's assistant, something more appropriate for her abilities. My cousin Brandon, who was in pre-med at University of Oregon, looked embarrassed. Aunt Linda, that seems kind of harsh. It's not harsh, it's honest. I'm her mother. I know her limitations. And now she's wasted 3 years at this clinic. What's it called, Sarah? The one in the bad neighborhood? Everyone was looking at me now. Mercy General? I said calmly. Right, Mercy General, some free clinic. She could have been a real doctor by now. Instead, she's changing bedpans for people who can't even pay. I cut a piece of turkey. You're right, Mom. I should have made better choices. She looked momentarily surprised. She'd expected a fight, then smiled with satisfaction. Well, at least you can admit it. I smiled back and said nothing. 3 months later, on a Tuesday in February, I was in my office reviewing the final plans for the new pediatric cardiac wing we were opening when my phone rang. It was the Chatter. Mitchell, we have a Linda Mitchell here, brought in by ambulance. Severe chest pain, possible me. She listed you as emergency contact. My stomach dropped. I'm on my way. I ran. Down 3 flights of stairs because the elevator was too slow, through 2 buildings, into the EA where my mother was on a gurney. Her face pale and frightened, EKG leads attached to her chest. She saw me and her expression shifted from fear to anger. What are you doing here? I asked them to call you, not have you come down from whatever you were doing. Mom, I work here. I'm CMO. Let me see your chart. She blinked. What? But I was already reading her vitals, checking her EKG, noting the Saint elevation that confirmed STEMI, a major heart attack. We had maybe 90 minutes to get her to the cath lab before permanent damage. Get Dr. Reynolds, I told the nurse. Tell him we need the cath lab prepped immediately. This is a STEMI, and the patient is my mother. The nurse's eyes widened, but she moved fast. Within 2 minutes, Marcus Reynolds, our top interventional cardiologist, one of the best in the country, was beside me reviewing the EKG. Definite STEMI, he confirmed. Probably the LAD. We need to move now. My mother was staring at me like she'd never seen me before. Sarah, what is happening? Who are these people? Why are you— Mom, you're having a major heart attack. We need to take you to surgery immediately to open the blocked artery. Dr. Reynolds is going to do a cardiac catheterization. You're in good hands, but you're not a real doctor, you work at the clinic. Mrs. Mitchell, Marcus said gently but firmly, your daughter is the chief medical officer of this hospital. She's also one of the finest emergency medicine physicians I've worked with. You're at Mercy General and you're getting the best care in the state. The color drained from my mother's face. Sarah? Her voice was small, confused. You told me you work at a free clinic. No, Mom, you told everyone I work at a free clinic. I just never corrected you. They were wheeling her toward the cath lab. I walked alongside the gurney, holding her hand. I don't understand, she whispered. I know. We'll talk after the procedure. Right now, you need to focus on staying calm. Your heart is under enough stress. At the cath lab doors, I had to let go. Marcus gave me a reassuring nod. I've got her, Sarah. She's going to be fine. I watched them disappear through the double doors, then stood there in the hallway trying to remember how to breathe. My assistant, Kevin, found me 20 minutes later, still standing in the same spot. Dr. Mitchell, the board meeting? Cancel it. Family emergency. Is there anything I can do? I looked at him, this brilliant young administrator who'd come to Mercy General because he believed in what we were building. Actually, yes. Can you have someone bring the dedication plaque from my office? The one we're unveiling next week? He looked confused but nodded. Of course, the procedure took 90 minutes. Marcus came out looking tired but satisfied. Single vessel disease, I'll add 95% blocked. We got a stent in place. Flows restored. She's going to make a full recovery. I nearly collapsed with relief. Thank you, Marcus. She's asking for you. She's still a little groggy from the sedation, but she's coherent. I found her in recovery, looking small and vulnerable in the hospital bed. So different from the formidable woman who'd spent 3 years telling anyone who'd listen about my failures. Hi, Mom. Sarah. Tears were streaming down her face. I don't understand. Everyone here, they treat you like you're important. The nurses, the doctors, everyone. They call you Dr. Mitchell. They said you own the hospital. I'm the majority shareholder, yes. And CMO, but you dropped out of medical school. I deferred from Johns Hopkins to help restructure this hospital. I finished my MD at OHSU while working here. I've been a licensed physician for 2 years. She closed her eyes. 3 years. I've been telling everyone for 3 years that you're a failure. That you couldn't hack it. That you work at some poverty clinic making nothing. Technically, we do run several free clinics. And I do treat patients who can't pay. That part wasn't wrong. Don't. Her voice cracked. Don't make excuses for me. I was cruel. God, Sarah, I was so cruel. Why didn't you tell me? I tried. That first phone call when I was so excited about the opportunity, you shut me down. You decided I was a failure before you knew any of the facts. And after that, I guess I just wanted to see how long you keep believing your own story. That's not an answer, isn't it? I sat down in the chair beside her bed. Mom, do you know what it's like to have your own mother announce your failures to everyone you know? To have her tell your cousins, your aunts and uncles, random people at parties that you're a disappointment? Not because she knew the truth and disagreed with my choices, but because she never bothered to ask what the truth was. Fresh tears ran down her cheeks. I'm so sorry, are you? Or are you just sorry because you found out you were wrong? That stopped her. She was quiet for a long time. Both, she finally whispered. I'm sorry I was wrong. But I'm more sorry that I was willing to believe the worst about you without even asking. I'm sorry that I made up a story about who you were instead of learning who you actually are. I'm sorry that it took you saving my life for me to see what I've done. Kevin appeared in the doorway, holding a large framed plaque. Dr. Mitchell, you asked for this? Thanks, Kevin. Just set it against the wall where she can see it. He placed it carefully and left. My mother stared at it, squinting to read the inscription. The Francis Mitchell Wing for Pediatric Cardiac Care, dedicated in loving memory of Frances Mitchell, 1940 to 2018, and in honor of her granddaughter, Dr. Sarah Mitchell, whose vision, generosity, and leadership transformed Mercy General from a failing community hospital into a beacon of hope. The measure of a life is not what you achieve for yourself, but what you make possible for others. Frances Mitchell. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. The wing we're opening next week, the one that's been in the news. That's you? Grandma left me money. I invested it in something that mattered. The pediatric cardiac wing will serve kids who couldn't otherwise afford specialized heart care. It seemed like the kind of thing she would have wanted. Sarah, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, Mom. You just have to get better. Will you tell me? She asked quietly. Will you tell me the real story? About the hospital, about what you've built, about who you really are. Not the story I made up, but the truth. I looked at this woman who'd spent 3 years diminishing me, who'd made me the punchline of family gatherings, who'd valued her narrative more than my reality. Part of me wanted to say no, to let her live with the guilt, to make her suffer the way she'd made me suffer. But she was my mother, and she'd just survived a heart attack. And somewhere beneath all the judgment and cruelty, there was still the woman who'd read to me every night as a child, who'd taught me to ride a bike, who'd cried at my high school graduation. Okay, I said. I'll tell you everything. I stayed with her all night. Between her dozing and the nurse's check-ins, I told her the whole story. About Dr. Okonkwo's offer, about the vision for Mercy General, about the hybrid model that let us serve everyone while staying financially stable, about finishing my degree while working 80-hour weeks, about becoming CMO, about buying Dr. Okonkwo's shares. I told her about the teenage girl who came in last month with a gunshot wound, how we saved her life and then got her into a program to escape gang involvement. About the elderly man with no insurance whose diabetes we managed for free while helping him apply for Medicaid. About the pediatric cardiac cases we took from all over the region because we had the best outcomes. I told her about the Frances Mitchell Scholarship we'd established for medical students from underserved communities. About the research we were publishing. About the TED Talk I'd been invited to give. She cried through most of it. Not dramatic sobs, just quiet tears running down her face. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered when I finished. "And I'm so ashamed of myself, Mom." No, let me say this. I was proud of the idea of you becoming a doctor at a prestigious hospital. I was proud of what I could tell people, how I could brag about you. But I was never proud of who you actually are, this person who saw a chance to make a real difference and took it, even when it meant walking away from prestige. This person who used her inheritance not to make herself comfortable, but to help thousands of strangers. This person who's genuinely changing the world. She reached for my hand. That person is worth being proud of. And I'm sorry it took me 3 years and a heart attack to see it. The next day, my mother's hospital room was filled with flowers. Not just from family, but from the hospital board, from grateful patients, from community leaders who'd worked with us to build Mercy General into what it was. My cousin Jessica came to visit, looking sheepish. "Aunt Linda, I had no idea," she said, looking around at the evidence of my mother's reality check. "I mean, I knew Sarah worked at Mercy General, but I thought, well, I guess I believed what you told us." "Don't," Mom said firmly. "Don't excuse me. I lied to all of you, not with facts, maybe, but with implications. I let you all believe my daughter was a failure when she was actually running a hospital and saving lives." Jessica turned to me. "Sarah, I'm sorry. We should have asked. We should have wanted to know." "It's okay," I said, because it was... The anger I'd carried for 3 years had somehow evaporated overnight, leaving only exhaustion and a strange kind of peace. Uncle Tom showed up that afternoon with Aunt Marie, both of them looking embarrassed. Then Brandon, my pre-med cousin, who spent 20 minutes asking me about medical school and hospital administration. Then more cousins, more aunts and uncles, all of them suddenly interested in who I actually was instead of who my mother had told them I was. By evening visiting hours, my mother looked overwhelmed. "They all came," she said wonderingly. "Your family." "Of course they came. No, I mean, they all wanted to know about you, your work, what you've done. They were proud of you. And I kept them from being proud of you for 3 years because I was too stubborn to admit I was wrong." "You weren't wrong to have doubts," I said. "It was a risky move. I could have failed. The hospital could have gone under. I could have lost Grandma's inheritance. But you didn't fail. And even if you had, even if the hospital had failed and you'd lost everything, the fact that you tried, that you risked everything to try to make a difference, that's something I should have celebrated. Instead, I punished you for it." She was quiet for a moment. Then, "I need to make this right. Mom, you don't have to..." "Yes, I do. I'm hosting Thanksgiving this year. And I'm going to tell everyone the truth. All of it. And I'm going to apologize to you in front of all of them. The same way I humiliated you in front of all of them. That's not necessary. It absolutely is. Sarah, you let me believe a lie for 3 years because I deserved to be fooled. But now I need to deserve forgiveness. And that starts with public accountability." Thanksgiving dinner 10 months later was at my parents' house. 43 relatives, the same crowd as last year. But this time, when my mother stood to make an announcement, the speech was very different. "Last year at Thanksgiving," she began, "I told all of you that my daughter Sarah was a dropout and a failure. I was wrong, spectacularly, shamefully wrong. And I need to tell you who she really is." She proceeded to tell them everything, my actual accomplishments. The hospital, the pediatric wing, the innovation, the impact. She showed them articles from the Portland Tribune and the Oregonian. She read portions of a glowing profile from Modern Healthcare magazine. "My daughter," she concluded, her voice shaking, "is one of the most accomplished people in this family. And I almost destroyed our relationship because I was more interested in my version of her life than her actual life. I'm telling you this not to brag about her now, but to apologize to her publicly for the harm I caused. Sarah, I'm sorry. I'm so profoundly sorry." The room was silent. Then my cousin Brandon started clapping. Jessica joined in. Within seconds, the entire room was applauding. Not for my mother's apology, I realized. For me, for what I'd actually accomplished. For who I'd actually become. My mother was crying again, but smiling too. "There's one more thing," she said. "Sarah, I made a donation this morning. To the Francis Mitchell Scholarship Fund at Mercy General. It's not nearly enough to make up for 3 years of cruelty. But it's a start. $50,000 in honor of your grandmother and in your name." I stood up and hugged her, both of us crying now, and felt something inside me finally heal. Because the truth is, I didn't need her approval to know my worth. I hadn't needed it for 3 years. But having it now, earned through her genuine growth and accountability, felt like finally being seen by someone who'd looked right through me for too long. "Thank you, Mom," I whispered. "No," she whispered back. "Thank you for becoming someone extraordinary, even when your own mother didn't believe in you. Thank you for being better than I deserved." And standing there in that room full of family who finally knew the truth, I realized that the greatest success wasn't the hospital I built or the lives I'd saved, or the wing that bore my grandmother's name. It was becoming the kind of person who could forgive someone who didn't deserve it yet, because I believed they could become someone who did. My mother had spent 3 years proving me wrong about her capacity for change. And finally, beautifully, she'd proven me right.